So, you're the Los Angeles Lakers. You just lost in the first round, you have an aging legend, an injury-prone star, and a difficult offseason coming up. What do? Hi guys, today we're taking a look at the Lakers season, what they need to do to improve this offseason, and what are some potential moves that they can do to make sure this kind of loss doesn't happen again. If that interests you, or if you're interested in other types of NBA content, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You're probably not going to regret it. Alright, first let's take a look at the current roster. LeBron is going to be back, and I imagine he's still going to be one of the top players in the league. Davis will be there, so will KCP, Kyle Kuzma, and Marc Gasol. They also have a few other minimum contract players entering into free agency. Wesley Matthews, Alex Caruso, Jared Dudley, Talen Horton-Tucker, Ben Latimore, and Markieff Morris. While I don't think any of these guys outside of Jared Dudley is that bad, they're all pretty standard minimum contract guys. If I were the Lakers, I would try and retain these guys, especially guys like Latimore and Caruso, but these also aren't the hardest guys to replace either. And one other big free agent is Montrezl Harrell, as he has a player option. We're going to talk about him in a second. Dennis Schroeder has also declined an extension, making him a free agent, and the Lakers are also wanting to sign back their free agent center, Andre Drummond. Now let's take a look at some of the things that the Lakers need. First, they need a distributor, someone who can take the load off LeBron and make plays when he's not on the floor or when he doesn't have the ball. Second, they need some three-point shooters. The Lakers were 25th in three-pointers made per game. They need some spacing and some guys who can help fix out their floor. Their offense in general was just not that good this year. They had the 24th worst offensive rating in the NBA. Teams at the bottom like the Hornets, Timberwolves, Pistons, Rockets, Cavs, Magic, and Thunder. Meanwhile, the Lakers are also at the bottom, but they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Even pre-All-Star break, before these guys got injured, the Lakers were still ranked 17. When you have two top 5 players in the league on your team, your offense should not be as good as the Pacers or the Hornets. LA was number 1 in team defense, and that definitely showed in this year's playoffs, but they also gave up the 11th most points per paint in the league. Not exactly what you would expect from such a strong defensive team. The Lakers need to go out and sign a rim protector because, as ideal as it would be, Anthony Davis is not going to move over to center. It's just too late in his career for that to happen. First, let's talk about Harrell. Montrezl Harrell is a big question for the Lakers. He has a player option that he could accept for $9.7 million, but will he accept it is another question. After having a breakout season with the Clippers, Harrell was expected to be a starter and one of the top big men in the NBA. Instead, the Lakers put him on the bench, giving him less minutes than he had on the Clippers. Personally, I also think Harrell is undervalued at $9.7 million, and I believe he could easily average 21 and 7 on a team that gives him proper minutes. And I think he could easily do more than 9.7 million. If I'm the Lakers, I'm hoping that he accepts his player option. If not, I'm going to do what I can to try and re-sign him in free agency and actually utilize him this year. But if I'm Montrezl Harrell, I would test my value in free agency and try and find a team who could give me more playing time. So how do we replace Harrell? Well, we have to see what's available. Andre Drummond will also be entering into free agency, but the Lakers have also expressed wanting to re-sign him. Me personally, I am not the biggest fan of Andre Drummond, and I don't think he works out that well on the Lakers. But if the Lakers really want him, I could see them signing Drummond around a minimum deal, coming off the bench and playing an opposite rotation of Anthony Davis. As far as centers that are available, just before we get into this, I'm going to list off quite a few guys. Not saying that the Lakers could afford them, but I'm saying that they would help. It can be difficult to gauge how much some of these guys will get in free agency, so rather I'm trying to paint the picture of the type of player that the Lakers need. But the Lakers' most desperate need is a rim protector, someone who can defend down low and not get exposed on defense like Drummond or Gasol. This offseason does have some decent centers: Cody Zeller, Robin Lopez, Serge Ibaka, Nerlens Noel, JaVale McGee, or Dwight Howard. But the problem is that the Lakers likely won't be able to afford any of these guys. They could at a minimum contract, but that also eliminates guys like Ibaka or Noel. And while some of the guys I listed off are solid and pretty average big men, none of them are playing starter minutes. Most of these guys are only playing 20 minutes per game, and they are not really long-term starting centers at this point in his career. As much as I criticize Drummond, LA is probably going to re-sign him, and I think he's going to play okay. but I would much rather have Drummond coming off the bench than starting. The next big player entering into free agency is Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder was offered a 4-year, $80 million extension that he then turned down. He then followed that up with a lackluster playoff performance. If I'm the Lakers, I'm kind of happy that he declined that because I think you could probably get Schroeder for less or find a guard for a better price in free agency. LeBron is still there, and he is still the true distributor, meaning that the guard to replace Schroeder can be a scoring first, pass second guy, as LeBron is still carrying many of the passing duties. I do like this season's free agent class when it comes to guards, and I'm not sure if the Lakers can afford them, but there are definitely some guys who can make a difference. A healthy Victor Oladipo, Goran Dragic, Tim Hardaway, re-signing Schroeder at a better price, Evan Fournier, Josh Richardson, Norman Powell are all guys who I think are capable of helping the offense. Going even cheaper, guys like Jeff Teague, Kendrick Nunn, Raul Neto, Tyler Johnson are guys who I think the Lakers could get on low contracts, so I think at the very least is going to help out their three-point game. But I don't know if these guys are really going to make a huge difference in actually turning the tide of the team. Like I said, unless they can get one of these guys at a steal of a price, or move some people around to generate some more cap space. Now that we're in the off season for the Lakers, the trades are going crazy, and LA is also in a difficult spot trade-wise. I argue that the Lakers only have 3 trade pieces this season: Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and their upcoming first-round pick. The Lakers gave away all their picks to the Pelicans, meaning that they have 1 first-round pick this year, and then their next is in 2026. Because LeBron is on his way out, LA is going to need some sort of young prospect. Trading away this year's pick would just not be wise. I don't know how much they could do to trade up either. They would have to give away KCP or Kuzma plus their pick to move up into the mid-teens. Here they could draft a better player to fill out their team, but a rookie likely isn't going to make a difference between the Lakers making another championship run or not. I hear a lot of people talk about trading Kuzma, and I also hear a lot of people calling Kuzma a bum. Could the Lakers trade Kuzma? Probably. He is coming off of a season averaging 13 points, 6 rebounds with a 44% field goal percentage. And after this round of the playoffs, his stock is not exactly high. So I think it would be a little difficult finding a team that wants to take Kyle Kuzma, and even if you do, I don't think you're going to get too much back for it unless you combine him with someone else. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is probably the best role player on the Lakers, averaging 10 points per game while shooting 41% from 3. You could argue he is slightly overpaid. After all, I would argue someone like Ben McLemore and Alex Caruso give him much better production for the price, but KCP is not good enough to move for a big player, but he's also not bad enough to just dump him off either. Even if you combine Kuzma, KCP, and their pick, the best you can land is, let's just say, someone like Malcolm Brogdon, a point guard who scores 21 points per game with 6 assists per game, while playing some good defense. How much better is Brogdon than Kuzma, KCP, and a rookie? He may be a little better, but this means the Lakers are going to be down 2 of their role players and don't have a first round pick for 5 years. And much as I do like Malcolm Brogdon this year, I just don't think that move for someone like him is really worth it. So trade-wise, I don't really see the Lakers having too much just because they don't have a lot of players to offer unless they try some type of sign and trade scenario. Now, I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable when it comes to coaches, who is the best, who is the worst, etc. But one thing I do feel confident saying is I'm not a big fan of Frank Vogel. Vogel is a stellar defensive coach, and I won't deny that the Lakers were amazing on defense this year, but their offense was also pretty pathetic. They were towards the bottom in total threes and in offensive ratings. I've said it before, but I have no clue why Harrell doesn't get more playing time, and why Vogel just loves Drummond in the rotation so much. The Lakers have a lack of spacing that can grind their offense to a halt, and sometimes when you need to change things and you can't move the roster, sometimes a new coach may be necessary. Do I know who should replace him? No. But I do think that there is some potential that they could get more offense with a better coach. The Lakers have some good defensive players, and if I were them, I would definitely take the sacrifice in defensive rating if it means boosting your offense. So I think one of the best case scenarios for the Lakers is that they bring back a team similar to this year, maybe have someone develop and take a big leap, and just kind of hope that they don't get the same injury bug that they did this year. Free agency does offer some good role players, and there are some solid veterans chasing a ring, but the Lakers won't be able to sign anyone at much more than a minimum value. Schroeder and Harrell could return, but I'm not really sure if that's best for them and their careers. But if you're Los Angeles, you have to find a way to make this roster work. LeBron will be 37 years old next season, and while it won't be a prime LeBron, it is still going to be LeBron James. Don't waste the twilight season of his career, get a team together, and go on one more run. That is it for this one. If you guys like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do have one more video on this topic planned that's going to be talking specifically about LeBron James and about his legacy, and what does this loss really mean for him. I'm excited for that. It's going to be coming out soon, so if you're interested in that, stay subscribed so that way you can see it come out in a few days. That's it for this one. I'll catch you guys later.